people are unjustly being put in prison and having their lives destroyed for choosing a substance that's, somewhere between coffee and beer. As far as I'm concerned, this is not that strong of a substance. I've smoked 5 joints since you and I have been sitting here together. Of the strongest pot in the world. I could keep going for hours.
Greg smokes a lot more pot than the average person.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's From Under the Influence. It must be Wednesday here in Vancouver. I'm Marijuana Man. This is Al the Alchemist.
What's happening?
And we're here high atop the BCMP, Cannabis Culture Headquarters. And today we're getting ridiculously doped.
Oh yeah.
It's a scandal. It'll be a scandal today.
Crazy stuff here today.
To help us along with the day's events, let's see what we got over here on camera too. Well, look at there's 3 guys.
We got 3 guys.
Mr. Marius, David Malmo Levine, and Jeremiah are in the house.
What's up, Hot TV?
So we're glad that everybody's here today. We can hear in the background a little bit of Adam Jang. Let's get him on camera here.
Adam Jang and the Jangalang Players.
Let's find this camera for him. There he is, live. We're glad he's here too, and of course we're glad that all you guys are in the house too. See a lot of familiar names in the chat. We're glad you could make it out today. Green Supreme. Let me see, I just got a message here.
What's happening, GS?
Press record.
There's some pepperonis on the kitchen counter.
So yeah, glad you could all make it in. Canadian Giant, Krieg, and E are in the chat. Press Green Supreme. I think that's pretty funny. So yeah, it's been a busy week out there in the marijuana world. I've smoked a ton. Had a whole bunch of different kinds. We got the bud cam in the house too. Let's have a look at that.
Oh, look at what we're smoking.
That doesn't look like a bud.
No, this is all of the soul of the bud.
The soul.
This is some fractional distillation.
So yeah, that's
That
how
is
we're planning on getting scandalously dope today. So I hope you guys got something else. Like we got. Oh, could be it could be a record-setting coughing day here on From Under the Influence. Al's going to work it up into this baby here.
This hoots for you though, Marijuana Man.
This hoots for me.
Yes.
So, Mr. Canoe Head, what's going on out there
Mr.
today?
Canoe Head? Come on.
I've seen that guy.
4 on the floor, brother. One of my favorite shows from back in the day, The Frantics. Great
Jordan the
Canadian,
Great's in the house.
comedy
Blind
troupe.
Pig's back. Glad to have you.
Can you name the villain that Mr. Canoehead fought?
A question from the coach.
No.
Here's a fine-looking specimen of the marijuanas.
Who was he?
I forgot.
Oh, that's
But I do know
We like to
some
call.
kind of hash plant.
the Wikipedia that anabolic steroids were first synthesized in 1934, whereas Tour de France was first run in 1903.
Okay, what about diabolic steroids?
Diabolic steroids? I don't know. I
I knew-
hear they're all the rage these days.
I went to a school with a girl named Anabolic.
Anabolic? Is that just her nickname?
One of the toughest girls in our school. Let me tell
And
you.
her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ball-Lick, named her that.
Well, we're going to see what happens to us with some of this all.
So the first 30 years or so of the Tour de France was run without any steroids.
It was a shorter course, not as many hills, and they were allowed to to incorporate ox blood with their own. So it was kind of like doping.
Right.
You know,
And
all
they were
jacked
allowed
up
to
on
have
ox
motors on
blood.
their bicycles as well.
What's that?
What?
They had motors on their
Really?
bicycles. No.
You're pulling my leg.
Well,
No, it was originally done in cars.
Yeah.
You guys are all just
So-
joking.
They did it in wagons with horse-drawn wagons.
You're pulling
French Clydesdales.
my arms strong.
So as a request from last week, I'm showing my ears. I don't know
Al's
what the
head.
hell that was about.
Al got brand new ears this
So
week.
I got a new
He's been
pair of
showing
ears I've
everybody.
been showing off all day.
He's
The
been
ears-
showing
Check it out,
everybody.
check it out. I'm going to wiggle them for you guys.
Oh, we sure you had an ear cam.
Holding back the ears.
Are they working?
Hang on, we'll get it on the ear cam.
Wasted all those ears.
He's not moving his
Work as
head.
good as the old ones.
Look at them go now. Wow.
There you guys go. Wiggling my new ears for you.
Well, they seem to be working well. For 2 days he couldn't hear.
The ear cam.
But, yeah, so I did a little Wikipedian myself today about the doping scandals. You all heard about Lance Armstrong and what's been going on with the Tour de France and them discovering that he was a major drug dealer and everybody riding the bike that day was hooking up. But if you go and look in antiquity, which is where I always like to go and look, men have always tried to work harder or at least suffer less as they were doing so. Now, for instance, Scandinavian mythology says that the berserkers could drink a mixture called butotens, perhaps prepared from the Amanita muscaria mushroom, to increase their physical power 12 times at the risk of insanity. They were called the berserkers.
There are steroids just in different forms.
Now, in more recent times, German missionary Albert Schweitzer wrote of the Gabon in the early 19th century. The people of that country can, having eaten certain leaves or roots, toil vigorously all day without feeling hungry, thirsty, or tired, and all the time showing a happiness and gaiety.
What are they on?
Roots, leaves that they have there. So people have always been seeking and finding ways to enhance their performance.
Koji Indians.
Now, a participant in an endurance walking race in Britain in 1807 said that he used laudanum or opium to keep him awake for 24 hours while competing. Now, walking races had stretched to 500 miles. They were walking for 500 miles. Wow.
Well, Proclaimers have a song about that.
Yeah, that's hey, I would walk 500 miles.
Da da da.
Doping, of course.
Dun 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 dun. Okay, yeah, sorry guys.
Now, the spectators attending these events, they did not care. They were thrilled that people were actually walking the 500 miles and that there was a good race. And later on, that spilled over into the world of cycling. And here's a quote. Cyclists are much more likely to endure their miseries publicly. A tired walker, after all, merely sits down. A tired cyclist falls off and possibly brings others crashing down as well. That's much more fun. So, scandal? I don't think so.
It's part of the sport.
That's
You
right.
think Armstrong strong-armed his way in to get a leg up? Gotta hand it to him. Something was afoot.
And he sure busted a nut
Don't
trying.
be giving us the gears.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was,
And he only had one ball,
Now,
which means
he had cancer in his brain at one time.
he had brain
in his
cancer,
lungs.
lung cancer,
Actually,
one ball.
last night on Jon Stewart's show.
That was from doing
Daily
Korean
Show with Jon
steroids.
Stewart.
Lewis
Lewis
Black.
another
Black
one
did
of
a
these?
great little piece about Lance Armstrong and about the doping scandal, and he played a clip from one of the major news networks that was analyzing Lance Armstrong and his incredible physique and they were saying that, you know, he's 4 times stronger than the average man in all of his organs, and his lungs can breathe in twice the amount as a regular human being. And all this
Wow.
stuff. And Lewis Black said, the question isn't why are these cyclists doping all the time, it's why aren't the rest of us doping all the time, with the way that, you know, that's what he said. So it was kind of funny. It's interesting how Lance Armstrong was this picture of perfection. So if you can use the drugs to actually reach these states and do it in a healthy way, you know, I don't understand what is wrong with that, really. I suppose that, you know, as part of the rules, it's wrong, but they ought to have the dope Olympics.
Yeah, steroid Olympics, man.
Well,
Awesome. Could you imagine shot put?
It'd be a lot more interesting one way
Just
or another,
guys
so.
there should be
jacking
more
up
at stake.
one arm. They have these big.
Really. And when you really think about it, too, it's just a bicycle race in France, only in France. It's not like you and me can get involved. Now, what about them saying that steroids or some sort of doping will give you a leg up, but will not a super wheel that you're going to put on your bicycle, or some sort of new aerodynamic thing that your guys have come up with because you've got billions of dollars you're getting from Nike and Radio Shack?
It's not like the Olympic bans all performance-enhancing drugs. You are allowed to drink
Gatorade.
4
Well,
cups of coffee.
No, but the people who
Four.
ban this stuff do so. The reason that they come up with is to say that we need a level playing field. But the playing field has never been level, because if you've got more money than me,
You can
you
train
got a better
longer.
bike,
Yeah.
nicer shorts.
You can train in the Andes or at sea level or wherever
for
you
sure.
need to
That's right.
train. Yeah, well,
So it's a
Yep.
bunch of nonsense. It's all part of prohibition. It has little to do with sports and whether or not they maintain a good name in the world. They're all brought to us by booze.
the other thing
Every
is,
single one of them is sponsored by alcohol.
there's herbs such as cordyceps mushrooms and Damiana. Damiana mimics testosterone, and cordyceps mushrooms have been used by various groups in the Olympics as a performance enhancer, and I believe they're both totally legal.
Now,
No,
It's true that what?
I don't think you could take Damiana because it's produces a chemical effect in your body that'll test for.
It mimics testosterone, but it's not on the list. I don't
No,
believe
I
it's
know,
on the
but
list
your
of
body will
bans.
have a higher level of testosterone, and that'll be like suspicious.
I knew a girl named Damiana once.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Put me to sleep.
That's anabolic sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if Lance is true, Lance Armstrong
It's like,
only had one ball.
It's like elk velvet antler. You couldn't take that because it has a growth hormone stimulant in it.
Yeah. If it's true he only had one ball, then he would have, registered at half the normal testosterone, so it would have balanced him out.
Supplementing. Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's for medicinal use. Don't even
No.
sweat it.
any sort of plan to balance out your one ball has got to be half cocked.
Well, speaking of one ball,
Great segue. How are you gonna finish it?
Nike showed that they didn't have a pair today, and Radio Shack too, when they ceremoniously dropped Lance Armstrong from their sponsorship.
After days of defending him.
Yes. Now, here's two wonderful companies in the world, aren't they? Nike and Radio Shack. They're so fucking pure as the driven snow. These two they can't handle. Who the hell goes to Radio Shack anymore anyway? Like, really?
It doesn't even exist.
Just people wearing Nikes.
Isn't it
No,
Circuit
n-
City now?
Nike gets all of their stuff made in sweatshops in fucking Malaysia and East Asia. Caught, they know, they admit to it.
Yeah, they're looking to fix their optics instead of
They're like, yeah. This
firing
is
the
how we
drug
got to get
dealer
our
they
prices down for you guys.
Radio Shack is owned by the Tandy Corporation. Tandy, oh, Karen Tandy.
Really?
Yeah,
same Tandy?
Tandy.
Boy, they were
So-
sullied forever too.
Yes, it's just nonsense, folks. It gives people something to talk about in the news. Nike's been all over the news for as long as they've existed for human rights issues in the production of their stupid running shoes.
And speaking
Like,
of
really?
performance enhancers, Wasn't it Red Bull that sponsored that guy jumping out of a balloon at Brazilian 1,000 feet?
Oh,
Yeah, they've come up with a new slogan now. Red Bull doesn't give you wings, it makes you drop like a rock.
But really fast.
Really, really fast. Now,
Faster than the speed of sound.
they won't let me smoke a joint, but they'll let that guy go up as high as a balloon will take him and jump off. They'll
Yeah.
let that guy do that.
Well, they realize that you're going to get higher off what
Man.
you do than that guy's getting higher off
What
he
about
does.
the waste of helium? Given the world's shortage of helium,
Well, they
the helium people were thrilled with his
They-
feet.
They decided to set a record that couldn't be broken soon due to the lack of helium.
That's right. And what about all these poor kids that watch that? And might I add, that was some of the most boring television I've ever seen.
What about the
For 2
conspiracy
solid hours of
covering up
shot.
all the protests from the people that need the helium?
Oh yeah, helium protests all over.
Yeah.
There was
These
helium
high
pro-
squeaky
global-
voices at you all
global
the
helium
time, eh?
protests.
I think
And
it was a secret experiment to test
they
Red
went
Bull
unhurt.
in high altitudes on the brains of human beings. See the effect.
What do we want? Helium. When do we want it? Right the fuck now.
I think it's the beginnings of a marketing campaign
One guy in the
to launch the Red Bull Stratosphere.
Where'd you got it? Where'd you get yours?
It's just naturally.
Well, that was the image of Jodie Emery walking behind camera
Where's the
2.
steroids?
She's up to something. But, yeah, so... Doping? I don't know. They're kicking guys out of football and
I've been
for
doping all
smoking
day.
weed. Kicking guys out of football.
We're frozen.
Yet, they'll let a guy
We're frozen.
jump from 100,000 feet.
We need tech support.
I think it's just us.
Kung Fu on this
Oh,
one
there
is
we go.
very strong.
Oh, now we're frozen again.
Care for another rip?
Yes. So, this guy, Felix Baumgartner, no relation to Alex Baumgartner.
And no relation to Felix Pappalardi of Mountain.
None.
Or no relation to Felix the cat.
Well, actually, there is a slight resemblance. He looks like Felix the cat, but at any rate,
Bag of tricks.
he's now going to become a role model. He'll be on the Cheerios box being a role model for kids, eh? What are the chances of a kid ever being able to do that? Or that there be any helium left when they're old enough? Sad week. Something else was happening in the news while everyone was watching that. They were invading Libya very quietly with
Isn't that
drones.
interesting, eh? Hey, we're going to invade Libya. Red Bull, we need your help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send this guy up. Make up this shit.
Well, they needed an excuse to send the spy gear up there. What they really did was launch a spy cam, and that guy was a distraction as well.
So yeah,
The Red Bull satellite.
yeah. No, it's just crazy stuff that goes on out there. Now, of course, they're all getting really heated up right here on this bowl.
What I find crazy about the whole Lance Armstrong thing is just that he was able to maintain this, facade for so long, and he was on television shows, he was writing books. The guy was like a very, very good performer, great liar, that's for sure.
Well,
He
he
had
was
cancer.
on steroids. He was able to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I guess so. That's right. Well, he does have a lot of money, and he has teams of people around him, and I guess these are the people who ended up ratting him out. Even the makeup artist who helped him cover up his shoot-up marks on his arms rolled over on him and told the press and everything that,
In a heartbeat.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty
poor
brutal.
Lance. He'll take the dive for it. Poor Lance. He's a rich millionaire, and he'll be set for life for riding a bike on steroids.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they won't be able to take his money from him. They can take his titles, but not his cash.
That's right. He doesn't really care about the titles. He did it. He was there. He did it. He knew if, in
Steroids or
fact, he
not,
was on
he did it, yeah,
steroids.
who
He
cares?
knew while he was doing it and winning that he had done it because of that. So, yeah, he don't care. I didn't care that Jose Canseco,
It's 420.
420
Happy
here in
420.
Vancouver.
I'm doing an oil rip.
Is it 420 where you guys are?
Fractionally distilled.
We got a bunch of people in the chat. Let's see who's there. Chumley 420. Pot for free. Bravo 420. Yoda's back.
Canadian
XD.
Giant.
Lompy. Mistress Dita. Mr. Cookie 420.
Hey, what's happening?
Wow.
All right, this
Friends
hoot,
with Mr. Canoehead.
this hoot is for everybody in chat.
We're
Thunder
smoking
Bay loves Pod TV, apparently.
some Bud Camp. What's that?
I said Thunder Bay loves Pod TV, according to the chat. According
Nice.
to Northern Bong.
So, yeah, I hope you're all smoking something good. Here's what we're smoking if you just joined us. It's this stuff. Some very, very fine oil. Maybe Al could tell us after he stops coughing how this oil was made.
With love.
With love, yes. And, no, it's beautiful stuff. We don't often smoke the oils here, but there's a special occasion, and we needed to get to see. It's put Al right out of the picture. There, he's back now.
Hi. I am. All right. So this crazy stuff, I believe they use ether as their solvent,
Ether.
and they're doing fractional distillation. So what that is they're starting at low temperatures, and they're turning impurities into gas, boiling them off, and slowly dissecting all of the impurities out of the cannabinoid profiles, I guess you could say. And then they start collecting the resins in between 165 degrees and 190 degrees. So all of the gases that boil off between those temperatures get collected after all the impurities are done.
Huh.
They get collected and condensed back into a liquid, and you're left with this crazy clear stuff that is super clean, super strong, and void of waxes and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's delicious. Very, it's a delicate smoke.
Well,
Not really,
monster rips.
It doesn't hit you really hard, and only
I'm
the,
being a
only the
pig.
only the weak really cough.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Alice doing monster rips. You
You're
guys
gonna
don't
give
know
Marijuana
that.
Man an Alchemist size rip.
See, I don't always hit them the same way. We should hit up camera too with some.
Sure.
Yeah, let's see what
You
we
guys
got
want to
going
get
on here.
crippled?
Say that again?
I said, you guys want to get crippled?
Oh, hell yeah. You know we do.
You want a really big one?
Yeah. I always answer yes to that question.
Haha, sucker.
So yeah, we've
I'm the
got
same
a little bit of entertainment for you too. This
Come
is coming to us from a jam night a long time ago, and this is for Al. Another guy came by one night and he played the bass, but he wasn't satisfied with just playing the bass. He brought 2 extra strings.
Nice.
He had a 6-string bass, and his name's Thomas Morgan. So take a look at this. Roll a fat one. We're going to be smoking oil and getting scandalously dopey today. So join us when we come back and enjoy
This show's
this.
for Lance Armstrong.
Lance.
We're doping with you, Lance.
That's Thomas Morgan, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. Mr. Cat Hendricks.
There you go, little Tommy Morgan. That was some exceptional bass playing. We didn't have it live here in the studio to listen to, but I remember it from that night.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, Al is one of the best, that's for sure. This guy,
highly schooled.
he
This
was
guy is,
awesome, Thomas.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty entertaining. I want to let you know that right here on this very spot where we're sitting tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, David Malmo-Levine will be having his monthly art auction.
Nice.
So come on down and pick up some art that is marijuana inspired, and lots of cool stuff that David pulls out of his hat for it. So
Got a
come
great
on
collection.
Pulls out of his what?
down. Yeah, really. So yeah, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Now, Jody was just telling us about some breaking news from CBC that they've decided to do a story around the U.S.'s current propositions, particularly 502 down in Washington State, and particularly where John McKay, the former U.S. attorney turned marijuana activist, is concerned, and they're going to go down there, do an interview, and apparently they're going to come back and talk to Jody about it. So we'll look forward to that, and Jody can tell us a little more, maybe. Sure. Tell us. Let's.
Get the other camera.
There's Jody joining us.
I'm here. I'm waiting to. It's just a little bit of a delay, I suppose it is. All right. Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Pot TV. Or I guess it's welcome to me. But yeah, I just got a call from CBC Television, and they're doing a big segment about John McKay and 502, and endorsing Initiative 502, which Mark and I have done and are official endorsers. And I'm actually going to be shooting a little video commercial endorsement, not officially sanctioned by the New Approach Washington 502 group, but of course the sort of thing I'm expected to do as an endorser, which is to endorse it and explain why I think everyone in Washington State should support Initiative 502. Now, if you'd like to see more of my reasons why, you can easily find them in Mark's blogs about 502. He and I have talked about this a lot. We've heard from many different people. We've made up our minds, and we think that it's a wonderful step forward, a huge breaking point. It's basically like the first brick out of the wall coming down, and maybe it'll trigger everything else to crumble. So having people on our side, like former law enforcement officials, we all know who LEAP are, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, incredible advocates for ending this drug war, and people like John McKay and others who have done some bad things, like putting Mark Emery away and charging and indicting Greg and Michelle and Mark and a lot of other people for marijuana offenses. They're changing their minds, they're coming on board, and we're finding that the marijuana movement's desire to get political and mainstream support is coming to be reality right now. We are getting the mainstream political support. So it's fantastic that CBC Television and, of course, media all around the world are going to be covering this vote and talking to John McKay. And I'll be down there in Seattle live with Jeremiah Vandermeer, broadcasting from the headquarters as history is made, hopefully, and Initiative 502 passes. And we'll be bringing in information and affiliates from Oregon and Colorado, where we'll be watching those legalization votes as well. So tune into pot.tv for all of that. And, of course, we'll be putting it all over cannabis culture. And do visit our Facebook pages and follow us on Twitter and everything else online. Get on Instagram if you are. You can follow some stuff at Cannabis Culture, Headquarters Store, and Cannabis Culture, and much, much more. There you go. That's my rhyme for the night, and I'm going to wrap it up. And, yeah. So, yay, John McKay and all the former drug warriors who are now on our side. We need you types. So I'm very pleased with that sort of progress. So that's that.
Anything to add to that, Marius?
Well, it's just great working with Jody, and I'm really excited about the Washington initiative as well.
Because we're neighbors.
I'm looking forward to it, and I know the initiative is doing. I think all the legalization initiatives are doing really well, except for the one in Oregon.
Yeah,
right now.
which is
So
unfortunate.
I'm looking forward to that.
But you can have a few. You can lose a few battles and still win the war. I mean, California, that was a real shame when we were down there watching Proposition 19. That went down, and that was heartbreaking. We were pretty depressed about that. But you can always do it again. And even if this Initiative 502 passes with the pretty lame driving provisions. I'll admit I don't like those driving under the influence provisions, but you have 2 years to change it. You have time to change it, and 2 years is nothing when you think of how long this drug war has been destroying lives for. So every year that 502 is passed, we'll see 10,000 people not being arrested in Washington State a year. And arrests ruin lives worse than DUIs do. I'm just going to say that's part of my argument in favor of it. But anyway, we should wrap it up.
Marius, what do you think about that?
Well, you could look at it as the lesser of two evils, but even if you look at the lesser of the two evils, the driving positions are very minor, compared to the good of it.
Yeah,
The lesser of two evils is evil.
Yeah, well, but here's...
It's mostly
No,
good. There is some problems with it, but like Jody said, those can be changed.
And you don't have to worry about worst case scenario. I'm a worst case scenario thinker in general. I'm always scared of like the worst thing happening all the time. But in this situation, stop worrying about, road checks putting away every single pot smoker. Yeah, right, that's not going to happen. Why don't you think of the positives, the good that could come out? What if legal stores set up like Starbucks style everywhere with the government's permission? Like, who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. So try and look on the bright side and work to make it good. Don't just say, hey, this sucks, I'm not going to get involved, because then you aren't going to have a say at all, and other people are going to do it their way. So if you really want to have a say, get involved with those who are making a difference and try and bend their ear a little your way. Just,
Make a list of pros and cons for either position. It passing, it not passing, and then decide. At least do that. At least look at both sides. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a step in the right direction. You can't, and every journey starts with one step.
Amen. So. Absolutely true. In fact, when you talk about other movements like racial equality, how about that? When they abolished slavery, there's still a lot of work to be done. Even today, there's a lot of inequality. So you're always going to have problems with any policy. Government stuff is never going to be perfect. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. The animal rights laws aren't perfect. The oil and industry laws aren't perfect. Nothing's perfect. So don't wait for something perfect, because it's not going to happen. But take the closest thing you can get to it.
Vote for legalization.
Yeah.
Imagine the headlines the
anyway.
Day after if Washington passes.
First place on earth, legalized.
Legalize government stores to sell marijuana.
To all adults, healthy or sick.
Purposes.
That means
it's
all
like
the healthy
this.
people can prevent sickness.
Once their foot's in the door, you guys are in.
Yeah.
Like that's your in. You're like in the lobby, as opposed to on the stairs being fucking ignored and beat down and fed to the dogs. Wake the fuck up, you sleepy bastards. So your foot's in the door, and then you can manipulate the shit out of that and get amendments and get it done and have it in your favor.
I have to address something. Eve wrote that the problem with 502 is it does not allow medical personal organic grows for indigent disabled. The medical marijuana laws aren't changed at all. Everyone who gets a doctor's note, which you can easily get in Washington State, apparently, is able to grow still for themselves and do their collectives and all the stuff that's going on. Medical marijuana laws will not change at all. In fact, Washington State's medical marijuana laws are the least protective of all the medical marijuana states in the United States, because if you get arrested in Washington as a medical marijuana patient, you still can't use that as a defense. You have to... you still face charges more likely than you would if you were in a different medical state. But 502 will make it legal for you to possess oils and tinctures and pounds of butter and like all sorts of stuff. It'll be more protection for sick and healthy people. So, don't just keep it to a few people get a little bit of protection when you can have a lot of people get more protection. Maybe not everybody will get full protection, but again, if you're being beaten with an iron bar 12 hours a day, and they said, do you want it for 10 hours a day or for 12 still? I would say 10. 10 hours a day, please. I'm not going to say, I'll wait until you offer me no more beating. Not going to happen.
No, give me the 10.
I'd take the less punishment and then keep working towards no punishment. That's the way I see it.
Well, I agree totally with that.
Right on.
But.
Would you
split
the extra 2 hours into, like, 12 10-minute breaks?
Yeah, there you go.
I think I would.
Even though Jody makes a lot of sense with that.
For a wooden rod?
I say, even though Jody makes a lot of sense with her argument, some people don't agree with that. Now, just as early as last Monday, There was a teleconference call that took place between former Drug Enforcement Agency administrators and directors of the Office of National Drug Control Policy. And they got together to voice a strong reminder to the U.S. Department of Justice that even if voters in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington pass ballot measures to legalize marijuana for use for adults, that will still violate federal law, and it could trigger a constitutional showdown. Now that I'd like to see, a constitutional showdown.
Would they be using judicial bullets? Wow.
They wouldn't be using rubber bullets, I don't think. Now, the goal of the call was to put additional pressure on the Attorney General to make a public statement in opposition. They haven't said, the Department of Justice in the United States hasn't uttered a word about these measures that are less than 30 days away now to be voted upon. Now, Peter Bessinger was the moderator of the call, and he's a former administrator of the DEA during Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, and Ronald Reagan administrations. He was there forever. Now, he said there is a bigger danger that touches every one of us. Legalizing marijuana threatens public health and safety. He said in states that have legalized medical marijuana, drug driving arrests, accidents, and drug overdose deaths have skyrocketed. Drug treatment admissions are up, and the number of teens using this gateway drugs are up dramatically.
Lies.
Now this is under prohibition. This is what prohibition causes.
Yeah.
Pete. Now, of course, these men made their entire livings off of the prohibition of drugs. They do not desperately want the people to get a hold of any rights in the matter whatsoever. Now, they were busting dispensaries in the States yesterday. And the feds will continue to do that because that's the only position that they can ever have. They've worked themselves into a position where they just can't give up now. The money is too great, the lies are too big, and they're going to just try their very best to quash anything that's going to be advanced politically. And it's a real shame. In Canada here, we don't have a fucking hope in hell to come close to having a proposition put on the bill. Our friend Dana Larson is mounting what here is known as a referendum. They make it extremely difficult for you to pull off a referendum. They want you to have 10% of the voting public.
And not just that, it's got to be 10% of each riding.
Yes.
It's not just 10%.
Now, the government is not formed here by winning votes that would equate to 10% of every voter in every riding. Government policy across the world is made by phoning 300 people, and Angus Reid does a poll. They tell us that we need 400,000 signatures to get something through. It's totally insane. But, the feds are going to be ramping it up. They'll not want to let loose this golden egg very easily. And it's just sad. And now Obama, he's hidden from it completely. Mitt Romney is a fucking goofball, so who cares about him? It doesn't matter who's president, really. If it mattered who was president, things would change. But they don't change from one president or prime minister to the next. Everything stays the same because it's all run by business. Here in Canada, they're all about it. They're all about being at war. They're all about being in the oil biz and making money off prohibition. Here's the three biggest cash-ins you can get here in the world. But we continue to fight, and we sure hope and wish everybody in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington states the best of luck in their endeavors. And we hope that one of them will slide through, and perhaps the domino effect will begin to take place. Now, today is Scandalous Doping Day. I hope you guys are getting doped up. You got any questions out there, let them rip there in the chat. Randy Leahy's in there.
What's happening, Leahy?
Manitoba Gold's back. Good to see you. Yoda's there with a new color.
Brothers from
Canadian
my
Giant.
homeland. How's
So we
things
got,
in Manitoba?
What are we smoking? Well, I'm smoking this joint.
I'm smoking, I just smoked some crazy honey oil. Now
This-
I'm about to roll up a sweet blue joint.
Here, I'll put something on the bud cam.
I think this is smoking some Harmony here.
The joint.
This is UK cheese, I do believe.
Yes, and I think that joint was
Genghis Khan.
Ooh. Looking for a nug of Genghis Khan. A very flavorful smoke, that thing, I gotta say. It's not what I'm smoking right now, but we smoked some last night. Delish.
The last joint that I rolled was Genghis.
Oh, and I just smoked some right now.
That's exactly what you're smoking right now is Genghis.
Well, things happen fast here when we're live, that's for
It
sure.
appears the oil is working.
Hope you guys are live out there too. I've never really thought about it before, the people in the chat.
I wonder.
Could be
I have
recorded.
very little evidence
We don't know anything about that.
about any of you, really.
Where are these guys anyways? Like, do they like meet somewhere?
It could all be chatbots.
Is it like a flat?
Are you guys-
flash mob that they go and they
Yeah,
sit
they're
in
all
a cafe
sitting
and
in
they're
a
all-
cafe somewhere down the street. That'd be funny. Downtown Toronto, Mistress Dita.
It's a basement somewhere.
Yeah, you're all in downtown Toronto. No,
There's sure
smoke a
of
lot
the
of pots
news.
in Michigan. Sunshine
I'm
Coast
sure
is
they're
out
not
there.
gonna tell us where they are.
Earth.
They're just making this stuff up.
St. Albert, Alberta. St. Albert, what was he known for?
Manitoba.
Adam said the Cosby Kids.
Isn't that Fat Albert?
I don't know. What was St. Albert known for?
St. Albert was
St. Albert's Day.
he was just a nice guy.
Isn't it Alberta Fatima?
I don't know. Let's Google St. Albert.
Who was St. Albert?
St. Albert is a suburban city in Alberta.
Blind Pig says he's at my house.
A type of cheese. It's fromager.
It's located northwest of Edmonton. You guys would be on the Sturgeon River, wouldn't they?
Long rip.
St. Albert? I'm pretty sure. Now, I think it was originally settled as a Métis community. It's now the second largest city in the Edmonton area.
But who was St. Albert?
St. Albert first received its town status in 1904. Now, I don't think St. Albert there was such a guy.
There's got to be a St. Albert.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a dude.
Not by. I don't see it. No, I think it's just a suburban city in Alberta, northwest of Edmonton. That's why he was sainted, because he was that. They used to be just known as Albert, Alberta, but that didn't sound right. Albert,
I
Alberta.
don't know, man. Sounds like a biblical conspiracy. Some sort of cover-up within the church. Very rare.
There's a St. Albert cheese.
Yeah.
Well, you guys don't want to hear about too much more about St. Albert. Albert was a prince. St. Bush. Huh? I'll pick up some hot dogs on the way home.
Blind Pig said I need to go to the grocery store because he's at my house.
He's at your house?
That's what he said.
Ah.
I didn't see him when I left earlier, but he could have showed up since I left, possibly.
These chatters, it's really hard to figure out what you
find
guys
his
are
way.
talking about at any given moment. And gals. But we're
Must also
smoking
have
oil
seen IPA.
that is some of the best I've ever had, I gotta say.
Very bad.
Adam Jang's in the house, playing his Les Paul.
Mistress Dita said she wants to try the oil. I just had a hit of that oil when we were playing the video. God damn, that's some good stuff.
All right,
Super,
well, I don't
super
know.
clean.
downtown Toronto.
Well, get your ass on a plane.
Yeah.
Christmas.
What time
Come
could you
on
be
out.
here?
The teeniest little drop of that oil made a giant cloud of smoke.
Large.
Yeah.
smoke.
Yes, it's
Tiny
very
little
well
Would you
refined.
care for another rip there?
I will have another rip.
I can see
Speaking of rips, our buddy Mark, still in fucking prison down in Mississippi. Sucks to have him away. We miss him a lot. Think of him every day. You guys should go to freemark.ca and spread the word about that. All of the information is there on how you can write to him, how you can send him stuff, magazines, books. He can also use money for the canteen and buying music. He has fallen deeply in love with playing music. Thank God for that. It's got to be a great distraction for him. Help him pass the time. He's playing bass in a band called Yazoo down there. But sometime before that, he used to be in prison in Georgia, in Folkston, Georgia. And he was just starting to get into the music then, and one of his prison mates wrote a song about being in Folkston prison. And those lyrics got to us and got to Adam Bowen, who runs our jam night. So Adam put those lyrics to music and performed it for us. So as a tribute to Mark, and to get you guys to go and give him a shout, take a look at this.
All covered, it's rice and beans again. I ain't tasted real food since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folkston prison, and the time keeps dragging on. Well, here's a ball and bad boy who won't pass. About the old record, it's a dirt track, nothing much to do. Well, we're stuck in Folkston prison, yeah. Stay out of the stage. Well, we gotta get moving. Hey, they just still go. Yes, in winter we got mosquitoes, in summer it's sand fleas. Beware of getting MRSA, it's the prisoner's disease. Yeah, we're stuck in Folkston prison, yeah, and we got no email. Yeah, hey, don't you dare complain, boy. Hey, what do you expect? It's jail. We're stuck in Folkston prison. TV and some volleyballs that line. We have chicken, pizza, burgers, no more rides and it'd be the sweetest prison that we've ever seen. It'd be the sweetest prison that we've ever seen. All right, Folkestone Prison Blues, music by Johnny Cash and lyrics by Randy Clark. Right on, Mark. Hope you liked it. Aloha.
There you go. Folkestone Prison Blues. That was by Randy Clark. Music by Johnny Cash. Played that night by Adam Bowen and Parker on harmonica, or mouth organ, if you will.
Parker was awesome, man.
He was a very good harmonica player. He used to make us cry.
Yeah.
We'd make
And
up
laugh.
really
Sometimes
sad stories
we'd make up
and laugh.
Stories
It was
about lambs being led down dark, dingy passageways to their altar, and the
We did have a lot of fun.
perspective such.
That's Tuesday nights at the BCMP. We have open mic jam night. Everybody's welcome to join in.
Oh, it's so
And many
fun.
people do. Week after week, it is usually pretty amazing. We
Every
have a
week
lot
I
of
have
fun.
more and more fun.
The music is great, so come on down. Do check out all of our web pages, cannabisculture.com. Jeremiah and Marius keep you up to date on all the happenings of the cannabis world. And you can also buy stuff at our store. We have an online store. You can get everything you need except the weed. Anytime, 24
got
hours
a
a day,
store?
it's open. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shop there.
Just open a
It's
store.
gotta be
here.
cool.
We got a store here too in downtown Vancouver at 307 West Hastings, right here on the famous Pot Block. So
Oh,
if you're
yeah,
out
I
there
heard about
traveling
that place.
around, you're watching the show, you go, hey, I don't know what to do. Come on down. We're here 7 days a week, and a lot of us are in the house. You can usually run into myself or Jody or Jeremiah and Marius.
What about us?
You're
Bug 'em.
around.
Oh, yeah, we are.
But we're not paying attention.
You can come and ask them
you
questions
can
about
be
Kush.
seen. You got questions about your Kush.
If you got
wanna-
questions about Kush, you come down and ask them.
Is that Adam Bowen in the chat?
Someone named Adam is in the
Hi,
chat.
we love you too.
It's not.
Yeah, he was answering
No, no.
questions about who was playing harmonica, and I was like, how does he know? Well, it must be Adam.
Who was playing drums?
He's a huge fan.
Parker was awesome. Polish wartime classical harmonica.
Yeah, you know it.
That was pretty much it, too. It was gray. He made the
Very
grayest
Eastern European.
music.
It was so Eastern Europe.
Poor little homeless children after the war.
Yeah.
But
Picking glass out of their feet before they play soccer.
always very inspiring.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Speaking of playing soccer, I think Nike got into trouble at one point for using child labor in Cambodian factory making soccer balls. Think about that next time you go buy shoes. You
Well,
want to
maybe they
support
could,
Yeah, they had
steroid
signs
use.
all over
I
the
heard
walls
Lance
saying, "Just
Armstrong's
do
out
it."
of work right now. He might be able to hook those kids up.
That's terrible.
Lance
Production
Armstrong, he was
soccer
one of
balls.
my favorite guys in space, I think.
Yeah, he discovered the moon. What does he even need to?
Guy gets to walk on the moon
Ride
and
bikes
win
for,
the Tour
man.
de France for sure. He's taken
Somebody
steroids.
asked, how is it humanly possible for Marijuana Man and Al to smoke so much weed?
Well, we're both superhuman,
They're not human. Yeah.
and I'm smoking oil. Come on.
Yes.
Their lungs are paved.
We were left here by aliens. We practice.
My lungs are on steroids.
We practice a lot.
Yeah,
I guess not
don't
anymore.
Try this at
My
home, kids.
connection's gone.
I'd
And
like
we-
to see Lance Armstrong's lungs up against one of your guys' lungs, and really, they said
Bring
his
it,
was
Lance.
2 times, or he could take in 2 times the amount of oxygen as a regular man's lung.
Yeah, I'm watching.
See
Really?
if I can do a 30-second breath or
Last night?
a 1-minute breath.
Now,
30 seconds in, 30 seconds out. Yeah.
what are you going to do? Hold your breath?
No, I'm going to breathe in for 30 seconds and breathe out for 30 seconds.
Yes, you
All
can.
right.
Would you like me to go get some waters?
Seems impossible to me. Ladies and gentlemen, now taking his place on the top platform, Al the Alchemist is breathing. He's breathing in for 30 seconds. I don't know who's timing this. Maybe in a minute. It's been a minute now, for God's sakes. He's breathing in.
It's like 15 minutes.
With New Year's, he's superhuman. Well, I breathe in lots all the time, smoking pot. And now, he's raised his arms. This was not anticipated that he was going to raise his arms, ladies and gentlemen. Something else is going to happen. He's floating off his chair, Lumpy says. His neck is getting purple, Adam says. Well.
Almost 60 seconds.
Huh?
I think I got
Well.
Are you
up to
sure
like
that felt like
52.
2 minutes?
I think I
Yes.
got up to 52 seconds there.
Wow.
So if you guys practice stuff like that, you too can be a Lance Armstrong
Oh.
and increase your lung power.
You can never be a Felix Baumgartner. You
Now-
can't
now-
be that guy.
Now, when
no.
you really put it
You
to
can
test
be a
after you practice that, you do it in conjunction with a push-up.
Does,
So you go
This is
60 seconds for one push-up. You breathe in as you're going down 30 seconds. And then when you get down, you start exhaling and you go 30 seconds up. Yeah. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, next
doesn't
show.
Marijuana Man have a story about being told that you had very
Swimmer's lungs.
swimmer's lung? I was going to say Michael
Yeah.
Phelps' lung, yeah.
Yeah, one of Michael Phelps's lungs, actually. That's all I
Yeah, that's
could
pretty
muster,
good, though.
really.
In a box under your bed.
No, a doctor did give me a breath test one time, not that many years ago, and he was quite impressed that I could do what I did. And I told him it was because of marijuana. So I hope he's still out there giving people marijuana.
Well, I think Lance was probably using a combination of those steroids and cannabis, and that's how he maybe was improving his lungs so much. Al, I was going to ask you, since you're an avid bicyclist, I wanted to know if there was anything about cannabis that you thought was specifically cool to riding the bicycle or really worked out for you. You know, you ride the bike, you smoke a lot of weed, so...
Well, I'll tell you something. In the summertime, I started eating hash. Well, not even eating it. I would take like really melty gummy hash and stick it to the roof of my mouth before I go for a workout.
Who doesn't do that?
Sprint from my place on my bike to the convention center. Stop at the main level and then run 10 rounds on the stairs. Get back on my bike, hit Stanley Park, and do like 4 or 5 laps around the park. Now, I had so much energy from from eating the hash. It was like I felt like Superman. It's insane. I actually snapped my my brake link on the chain. I snapped it twice while I was doing that. The only 2 times I've ever broken my chain, and I was like ripping up the hill on Hastings to Victoria. Hardest gear, just pedaling like a madman, and I snapped the brake link. And then I did it again like 3 weeks later.
All hash, no steroids?
All hash, no steroids.
A Superman.
A little bit of weed.
As Vapor Central said, Greg could smoke weed at the speed of sound. Marijuana
We've smoked a
Man
lot of weed.
makes a sonic boom.
Lungs break the sound barrier.
Yeah, that's what that guy did diving off that big balloon that he went up in. He made a sonic boom on the way down. Broke the speed of sound coming down. But I'm not too sure what the point of any of that is. Really. It's just because you can do it.
Would you like me to get you a drink?
Oh no, I got one.
Do you have one? Okay,
Oh,
good.
yeah.
All right.
I'm just
So-
doing monster rips of this stuff.
Yes, we have smoked a lot of weed over the years. Now, the contest that we had many years ago was a very good example. Sure, I'll get some more. very good example of having to smoke a lot of weed for work. Like, we'd get together, Chris and I, and we would smoke up to 15 to 18 different strains after work, one after another, and rate them. So that was a pretty good challenge. But quite frankly, at this point, I don't find marijuana all that strong in terms of, I don't know, I don't get debilitated by it. I'm pretty used to smoking weed and doing stuff, and knowing that the doing stuff is important and needs to be done, so you got to keep your shit together and get it done. But we practice a lot.
Somebody said that's a sweet trichome pick behind you. And
well, funny that Jody would mention that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it as I was sitting here looking at the set and going,
it's a beautiful trichome picture.
That's a great picture. You know,
that was given to me by Jody for my birthday.
Yeah, back in the day when I first came around, 2004, I think. It may have been 2005. But I was on the
2005,
internet,
I think
saw
it
a
was.
trichome picture, and it wasn't even a weed website. It's actually a science website that shows micro close-ups of all sorts of things. And that one said cannabis, and it is cannabis, and I thought that's a fantastic piece. So I wanted to get it for Marijuana Man for the seed office, you know. Like,
yeah, it hung there for a long time and has been with me ever since. It's one of my favorite pictures of trichomes. Maybe we'll get a close-up next time and we'll show it to you. It is a beautiful thing.
By Gary, the
yes,
artist,
our resident house artist at the time was named Gary, and he put a beautiful frame around it, and it's been in the office ever since. So we brought it down here today to let you guys have a look. But yeah, I think I don't know. I'm scandalously dopey. How about you guys? How about you guys?
German band called Faust, innovators of krautrock. Go check them out.
Innovators of krautrock.
Oh yeah.
Faust in town tonight. So
they're playing at the Waldorf.
Who is that from Toronto that is coming out anyway to smoke oil with us?
Who's that?
We'll go to that. Mistress Dita. Well, there's Tokyo Growers in the house. Adam said shit donkey. Don't know what that means.
Shit donkey.
There's Mistress Dita back. Steel Town. Hey, Tokyo Grower. Cool. Well, yeah. Glad you all managed to make it in with us today. We had a lot of fun being here. Hope you have a better perspective about the doping scandal. And that, you know, Lance needs a job.
Yeah, he does. So if anybody's got some odd jobs for Lance Armstrong, yard work, he'd be really good. He could clean your yard really fast.
Paperboy, that'd be perfect
boy.
for him too, riding his bike. Something with
maybe
a bike
maybe you're the coach of a hockey team of a bunch of wimps, and you could use his assistance with steroids to beef up your team. Maybe
wrestler, the manager of a wrestler, you might want his consultation.
Yeah, a wrestler might need a manager actually, and Lance Armstrong could be that manager. Bike repair shops. Lance Armstrong is looking for a gig, so if you need a poster child for your bike repair shop,
Lance is your
when
guy.
Lance Armstrong is allowed to ride bikes professionally, he gets them repaired here.
Yes, he doesn't send them to sweatshops.
And when he's not, he
in
works here.
Cambodia.
I think it'll be okay because isn't he the heir to the Armstrong cheese fortune?
Ah.
Yeah, that's Stretch. Yeah, because they got the Stretch cheese. Yeah, they got the Stretch cheese too. Yeah.
Because the moon was full of cheese at one point.
Yeah, exactly. See the Armstrong and Moon conspiracy?
Okay.
Definitely.
There we go. Now we're on to something.
All right, thanks to everybody on camera too for joining us today too. Oh, it's a beautiful shot.
Wow.
Mr. Marius, Jody, and Jeremiah. David Malmo Levine was sitting here earlier.
Yeah.
Thanks
I
to
am
him.
David Malmo Levine. Just guys.
A priest, a rabbi, and an Irish setter all walked into a bar.
Oh, and he is having he's having his art auction tomorrow
Art
night.
auction,
We probably
yes.
mentioned that a few times, but I'll do
We
it for
did
him
mention
again.
it, but it doesn't hurt to know.
Yeah, there's a lot
right
of
here.
beautiful cannabis-inspired art, and it helps the Herb Museum stay open. The Herb Museum is phenomenal, but that's something David has invested a lot of his life and money into, and you can't really charge too much to people to let them come see the cannabis medicine bottles and all the incredible stuff in there. But he's open in the evenings, and hopefully if you're in Vancouver, you can stop on by the Herb Museum and then come up another level to the Cannabis Culture headquarters office in Pot TV and the BC Marijuana Party headquarters space. So yeah, definitely go to cannabisculture.com/store for all the info about the store and everything. See how I just go right into advertising mode as we're talking? There we go. Yeah, free shipping in North America at the online store. So yeah, if you want anything, we got it.
There you
Or
go.
maybe not everything, but you know.
Nice.
Marijuana Man, before, I just wanted to say one other thing. On Friday, we've got a couple guests confirmed. We have Alan St. Pierre, the executive director of Normal, on the show to talk about...
St. Pierre, what was he a saint of?
That's a very good question.
St. Albert, no.
I'm not sure. I imagine he was probably wearing a beret, though.
St. Pierre.
St. Pierre.
Sorry.
Anyways, Alan St. Pierre on the show to talk about the 3 legalization initiatives and all the other stuff happening in the U.S. Also, we're going to talk about his call for a march on Washington on 4/20/2013. So that should be interesting. And we'll probably get him to talk a little bit about the ASA's lawsuit against the government, the federal government of the United States.
Oh, for medical
going on.
marijuana. That's
right,
big news.
Right now, that's big. It is. So, and actually, we'll hopefully keep you guys updated on that over the next couple of days on the front page of Cannabis Culture as well.
Yeah,
So
tune
check it
in to
out
Jared's
Friday,
show on
4
Friday.
p.m.
All right, and this
There's
is a
my
hemp
plug.
shirt from Cannabis Culture Store. I just remembered. This is hemp, so come check out our stuff.
I gotta check out the story you guys keep talking about.
It's right underneath us, literally below our feet at this moment. I'm standing right above the boat where all our
Get outta here.
employees are.
You just blew my mind.
And of course, there's Adam Jang, the side of him, anyway.
That's the
There it
side
is.
of Adam Jang
Yeah.
people rarely see.
The left side and just right behind him. But want to thank him for being in the house too. It's lovely to have the accompanying music.
It's another rip in there for you, sir.
So yeah, we got to finish off one more bowl of oil.
2 more. I'm gonna have one. Go see Faust.
Dingo 54, you have to email me to be put in the draw.
This is for Lance. Jose Canseco. Mark McGuire.
They should form their own team. Lance Armstrong and Jose and Lou Ferrigno. Hulk
Mark
Hogan.
McGuire still works in baseball. He was caught with steroids. All the home runs, won all the things.
Yeah, how-
he still
how-
works
you know?
in baseball. He's still a member of a team working. Paid hard. Nobody really cares.
Well,
They just don't
maybe
like
you
to
guys
get
could get
caught.
Lance on your team.
You
I
just
heard,
don't
I
like
heard
to
he's a
catch
pretty
him.
good shortstop.
The people who caught Lance feel bad. Lance feels bad. Nike feels bad. Radio Shack feels bad.
No, they
Everybody
don't.
feels bad.
Radio
Really.
Shack has no conscience.
The press loves it.
I feel good.
But in reality, nobody really gives a shit about it. They all feel bad that it happened. What they feel bad about is that they got caught. They don't feel bad about the steroids or anything else, but they got caught. And it was
I feel bad
complicated
they got
because the
caught,
guy had
too.
cancer. And you go, oh, I don't know what to do now. So, yeah. We'll see. Somebody else will win the Tour de France, and no one will care. No one cared about who won it last year. Like, who cares? We've been through all that, but
Not in Canada, maybe, but maybe some French people
yeah,
care.
along the side of the
St. Pierre
road,
cares.
just along the side of the road where they ride their bikes. Those people care. They go, oh, Tour de France again. I can't drive my car. It just disrupts their
There are
lives totally.
cyclist enthusiasts who would care. You know, every
Yes.
sport has its following. But
Oh no.
I don't know. I think
Marius
it was
is-
more fans of steroids that followed Tour de France.
well, then
Magazine,
it's
the
all
sports
sports
network.
then.
Damn the Wright brothers.
I bet a lot of people turn on the news on the the sports channel to see what's up with Lance Armstrong, so they're having a field day with it.
Now, when you turn on Sports Channel, you go, oh, no, fucking cycling? No one wants to watch that.
There's like 10 other sports.
I tease the cyclists.
I feel the same way about every sport, actually, so I don't see why cycling is any more or less.
I think they should start combining sports.
That would be better.
Tackle cycling.
Yes. Full contact cycling.
Yeah, straight out. Ride right up, leap off your bike, get the other guy off of his bike, throw it off a cliff, jump back on your bike, and go. Tackle cycling.
The only thing I would require then is that it be on a level plane.
And with this whole NHL walkout, I want to help redesign hockey and incorporate my new sport called body check. Okay, so what you got are two teams of really big guys, and nobody has sticks, and they have a horse jockey, and he wears a little black suit, and he's the puck, and he has to fucking sprint across the ice, and like he's got his guards around him, and the other team has to try to smash this little guy, and then when they get close enough, two enforcers have to grab him and throw him into the net, and that's a goal. So let's get rid of hockey altogether. Fuck that shit. Those guys want to whine. Go back to the Eastern Bloc and play in Europe. That's awesome. We can still watch you on Sportsnet. They got coverage is over there. Wicked. Still watch your favorite players playing in their homeland. That's wicked. And we can have North American body check. Red Bull, if you're listening, sponsored by Red Bull.
You jockeys out there, you're going to be lining up to get involved.
I like the idea of the ball or the puck as an actual person.
Yeah, just a little dude, like 92 pounds would be max weight. You could only be 92 pounds, and that's it.
So
well, look for that in the fall.
Dwarf tossing, but
no. Dwarf tossing,
that was cruel.
That's unethical.
Yeah.
These are just little dudes.
They
don't have any sort of physical dispositions. They're just little dudes.
They would say, "Keep your laws off of my body."
Yeah, that's dwarf tossing is very unethical.
Right.
You can't do that.
I don't know about that.
Hey, if the dwarf is consenting, what's the problem?
Exactly.
Hey, that's still. You don't want to.
Statutory dwarf talk.
Well, you don't want to start an epidemic. You know, all of a sudden, dwarves can't go to the bar because they're scared. They're in fear of being tossed.
Oh, come on. This
stuff
just
like that.
be a
You'll start an
sport.
epidemic if you encourage stuff like that. So we'll just use little dudes.
Well,
92-pound little dudes. No dwarfism in their gene pool or anything. Yeah.
I think that pretty much confirms that we have had a successful show.
Jockeys.
This is probably scandalously dopey.
Well, I'm scandalously doped.
Yeah, we're. I got a feeling tonight we're all going to get phone calls from Nike dropping us from their sponsorship.
Hey, man, if Nike doesn't want to sponsor me, I don't care. Puma does.
I don't think the evidence against.
Oh, wait a minute. No, Puma
did.
Puma didn't want to sponsor me either.
Birkenstock called me. I said I don't have enough money.
Birkenstock says if you give me 10 grand, we'll sponsor you.
Yeah. So, thanks a lot for joining in. We're going to be here next week.
Come on, this is every week?
Probably the week after that.
Really?
Yeah. But it might not be on Wednesdays.
Okay, and you guys have a store.
Yep.
Store downstairs. Al's store.
This shit's like totally together.
I don't know what's happened.
I'm glad I'm part of this outfit.
A lot of things came together in the past few weeks. So, yeah, thanks to Smoke a Lot of Pot, Manitoba Gold, Mistress Dita. Who else is there? Blind Pig. Thanks a lot for chatting around in the chat. Randy Leahy, E. Yoda, as always, Blind Pig. Adam, good to see you today again, brother. Thanks for last night. It was fun. Trailer trash. Sofa Snails there still.
We'll talk within the hour.
Good to have you all there, and thanks for tuning in.
Sofa Snail was in the house. How's it going, brother? See you later.
Yeah. Dingo 54. Steel Town, as always, thanks for being here. Big Bear 20,004. Wow. That's a huge bear. Mr. Canoehead. What more can I say?
Right on, Mr. Canoehead. 4 on the floor.
Keep smoking pot, stay active, do something to help legalize marijuana somewhere, somehow. And we'll be here, as always, smoking the good shit. Thanks.
Can I bequeath to you a boot to the head?
Huh?
And one for the wimp.
Huh?
Okay. And, yeah.
Peace and pot. I'm Marijuana Man. See you next week. Thanks for coming by.